Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spoiler Warning Podcast. This is review number 717 with a review of Bros. I'm Christopher Schnese.
And I'm Stephen Miller.
And if you're joining us for the first time, the Spoiler Warning Podcast is a weekly film review program. Each week in the show, we're going to dive in, debate, discuss, and argue over the latest films coming to a theater near you. This week, we have a couple reviews for you. We had a review of Blonde. We have this review of Bros, and also a review of Triangle of Sadness. Triangle of Sadness is also how we felt while we were watching Blonde, and we needed a chance to go out and hopefully watch something fun, and we thought a gay romantic comedy might be the thing to turn around our weekend after putting ourselves through all those other films. So, Steven, are you excited to talk about this film?
I'm excited. I'm happy to talk about a comedy. It's been a while, I feel like. I guess I Love You, Dad was the last one.
Yeah. That was the thing. I feel like, I forget what else came out around that, but I feel like that was also like a, hey, let's just throw this on the list of something we're going to review too, because this looks fun. Which was basically how we went about with this film as well. But are you ready, Stephen?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. We're going to take a listen to the trailer for Bros, and we're going to come back and give all these fine folks listening a review.
Hey guys, it's Bobby Lieber coming to you from the future home of the LGBTQ plus museum. Everyone is really excited and totally getting along.
This happens to be Bisexual Awareness Week, and no one has acknowledged it.
Lesbian History Month was in March. Nobody said a goddamn thing.
Of course, lesbians get a month and we get a week.
So what's happening? Didn't you guys have an announcement?
This is a little unexpected, but we are in a throuple situation.
You're in a throuple? Let me tell you what's progressive now. Being alone. I love my life. I love my freedom. I love my independence.
That's kind of sad.
That I don't want to be in a throuple. I don't even want to be in a couple.
Bobby, I had sex with that 65-year-old.
Jesus, he's ripped.
I know, it's like they injected steroids into Dumbledore. Oh my God, that's Aaron. He's very hot.
Gay guys are so stupid.
I know. But we've been smart enough to brand ourselves as being smart.
It's our little secret.
You met a guy?
I don't think I'm his type. He's like gay Tom Brady.
What are you into? One of these ripped idiots with no opinions?
No, I'd like someone who's physically very frail and won't stop talking.
And I bet he's as intimidated by you as you are by him.
I'm down for whatever.
Yeah, I can do whenever and I can do whatever.
Cool. Whatever, whenever. GIF of Michael Scott dancing. Office GIF? This person isn't gay.
I need you to be honest with me.
You like these broy meathead idiots.
Oh, look, they're fighting.
You like that?
Hey.
I can be tough like your boys.
Like
oh, that's what you like, huh?
Oh, damn, what's going on?
Oh, that's cool. My bad.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride!
Now I have to go to a Pride party and you're both too old to be in the pool. Please leave.
People are threatening to boycott the museum.
You can't say Lincoln was gay.
If we don't do this, we're letting the heterosexual terrorists win.
There are trans terrorists too. Caitlyn Jenner.
You're so different from me. You're very intense.
I like to keep things chill.
I can be chill, just like a manly man.
Sup? I got you. Yeah.
You gonna need some help here.
Okay, I'm gonna need some help here, bro.
What is going on with you?
My whole life, I prided myself on being self-reliant, but this guy has gone into my head.
Maybe you're both bottoms and that's the problem.
Bottom dick.
Gay sex was more fun when straight people were uncomfortable with it.
Oh my God, do you guys remember Straight People?
Yeah, they had a nice run.
All right, that was the trailer for Bros. Reading the description from IMDb, two men with commitment problems attempt a relationship. Stephen Miller, what did you think of Bros?
So I thought this movie was a pretty good romantic comedy. I should say I am a big fan of Billy Eichner, so that pretty good is going to be rounded up to great because of how much I like him as a person. I don't know if you are familiar with Billy on the Street, if I've made you watch it like I have seen every episode multiple times.
You have not.
Okay, so Billy on the Street, if you saw this at Alamo, you probably saw one quick snippet of Billy on the Street before this, which is basically Billy Eichner playing a version of himself, running around the streets of New York, doing this like manic celebrity quiz show where he interrogates people about questions, but he is screaming at them about it.
Yeah.
And most of the show is people like running away terrified or being completely flustered, and him just bringing this like crazy intense energy to what is a very silly premise. That is how I learned about him, other than him being in Parks and Recreation. That is his comedic sensibility. And what the Judd Apatow production studio does really well is takes a comedian from a like sketch situation and turns them to a big screen movie star. It just like, it takes the comic sensibility that they showed that they can do well, and it gives them a venue to do it on the big screen. And I think this movie does that very, very, very well for Billy Eichner. It like a lot of his bits from Billy on the Street are in this movie. Screaming Guy, happens quite a bit. A guy who is very like brashly explaining something to a kind old lady who has no idea what she's in for happens at a dinner scene in this movie. There's even an episode of Billy on the Street where Billy starts wearing a backwards cap and becomes a bro, and he and Jason Sudeikis like have a bunch of boys come and hang out. And Jim Billy Eichner here is 100% that character. And I laughed every time Billy Eichner gets to be himself. I think comedies like this, the pro and con with them is that they are written to have a joke a minute and be very improv heavy. And sometimes that doesn't work because you don't believe that real people in this situation would throw out zingers like that left and right. With Billy Eichner's character, Bobby, in this movie, I 100% believe it, because he is a too clever for his own good, cynical, knows all the tropes and knows when he's playing into them guy. And I think that just fits really well with the style of movie that, this machine churns out. I don't want him to lose agency here. I know this is Billy Eichner's movie, but I can't not see the Apatow machine doing for him what it did for Kumail, what it did for Amy Schumer, what it did for Steve Carell, what it did for Seth Rogen. Over and over again, this machine kind of is working its magic.
Yeah.
I say pretty good because it is formulaic. That's another part of this machine. A Judd Apatow romantic comedy always has a person who thinks they're better off alone, slowly learning that they need another person. It always has some kind of grand gesture or musical montage at the end. It always has a reason for characters to be racing to get there just in time. It's always going to have like a conflict that appears later and later in the movie. I feel like as these movies go on, it's more perfunctory when the conflict happens because they know you don't want to watch it and it's going to be resolved very quickly anyway. There a lot of the beats of this movie, the formula beats, felt like a formula and felt like they were phoning it in. But what I loved watching this movie is that 95% of it is the color that they're like putting in between the formula. It is the quips. It is just Eichner's very funny comic persona. It is the details of, at least one version of being gay in New York. I think there's earlier trailers of this movie started by having Billy Eichner be speaking on his podcast talking about how everyone wants to see a gay rom-com that proves that love is love and we're all the same. But the truth is, love isn't love. We're different. Like, for instance, straight people wouldn't understand this, and it shows a bunch of the gags. And I loved that trailer so much more than the one we just listened to, the one that has been playing the last few months, where it tries to zap the movie of all of those details and turn it into a love is love story. I think this movie is very funny because it doesn't play by those rules at all, because it knows the formula it's operating in, and it is laughing about the formula and telling you not to take it seriously and giving you a character who thinks the formula is stupid. I think all of that makes it very enjoyable. I have to say, watching it too at Alamo in San Francisco on the Monday after Billy Eichner chided everyone on Twitter to go support the movie, I believe Joanne and I were very much in the minority of being a straight couple sitting in the theater, and people were roaring at references that I didn't even understand. So this is an in-crowd movie, I think, in a way that I found very appealing. I'm going in circles because Bow and Yang makes me want to compare this to Fire Island, which I don't remember if we reviewed it or if we just watched the movie, but then didn't get around to doing a review.
I didn't see it.
Okay, you didn't see it. So Fire Island was the kind of critical darling this year of queer romantic comedies. Whereas this movie, so far, the narrative I've heard has been, this is kind of the formula, this is kind of just doing the standard rom-com plot. And I feel a little bit the opposite. When I saw Fire Island, I felt like it was playing to a formula way more heavily than I thought it was. And this movie, because of Billy Eichner's self-awareness and his kind of just the hilarious way he deals with situations, felt like it was saying something more than what the formula wanted to tell you. This felt like it was someone struggling with the normie aspects of straight relationships and trying to not fall prey to that, but also knowing that they are lonely and there is still something out there and you can define for yourself what it is. And I don't know. I thought this movie just did a whole lot well. And before I go on to criticizing it more, I should ask what you thought of Bros.
Yeah, so I didn't see that original trailer that you were talking about. I've only seen the trailer that is the one that has been playing for the last several weeks. And to me, that trailer was a little bit rough. Like the jokes in the trailer felt very flat to me, and it felt kind of like it felt like like, you know, when you watch a trailer for like a religious film and it it doesn't feel like a real movie. It feels like like all the lines are like he's yours now, Jesus. So
yeah.
like that kind of stuff. Like that was like the vibe. I was like, I knew that this wasn't a religious film, but I mean, like it seemed like a blah comedy that would have normally kind of gone straight to DVD or something like that. Like nothing about it screamed like you're going to have a really good time with this. The beginning of this film is that podcast scene you said from the other trailer, and it starts and Billy Eichner is just screaming, and I was like, oh dear God, I don't know if I'm going to like this movie. And I got really, really worried for just that scene, just because I was like, is he gonna scream the whole movie? Is that just his thing? Is that what he does? Like, I don't know if I could take this. But that was kind of just his podcast persona in the film. And then when it gets into the real guy, like I ended up having a great time with this film. Part of it might have been the environment that I was watching it, and I did see it at Alamo like you did. And I just had a great time watching it. And I think that, in the openings, one of his podcast listeners asks him the question, like, have you ever thought about doing a movie? And he basically makes something about like, I can't do a movie I would want to make. I would have to make like a queer movie that straight people are going to enjoy. And part of the time I was like, am I liking this because he did that? Did I get tricked? like is this good, or is it pandering to me in a way that makes me not understand that I'm having one pulled over my eyes? But I think most of the funniest stuff is the stuff that I only half got. Like, it's not the romantic comedy beat by beat sort of thing that you get from all the other films. It's all the stuff about what it is like dating as a gay man. And I thought like the way it portrays that experience and like the weirdness of like, no, this is just how normal this is, but also I'm with you, watcher. This is very strange. Whatever just happened. Right. And I found myself constantly like laughing and chuckling and just having like a good time as I watched this film. And there are moments that like I'm like, I think I'm not laughing that hard, and then all of a sudden I'm just like burst out laughing because it's so ridiculous whatever's going on. But yeah, I had an amazing time with it. I think the only thing that was a little bit weird is like they tried to avoid the trope of like a gay couple where one of them isn't out yet and the other is, and then trying to bounce around that dynamic, and they turned it into one is just a gay activist and the other one's not activisty enough for him, but it still feels like it's playing into that same trope, which felt like a little bit like it seems like you tried to swerve away from it and then just swerve directly into it in a way that kind of didn't really, but I like the way that resolves and the way it plays out, and it turns out to be a good payoff for like swerving into that weird trope. But all in all, I had an amazing time watching this film, and I did see the dude on the street thingamajigger, like
Billy
those
on
clips,
the street.
the Billy on the street stuff, and I just assumed that was specifically for promoting. I mean, those clips were specifically about promoting this film, but I had no idea that this was like an actual show where he does that sort of thing unrelated to promoting his film. So I might have to go check that out. What?
Yeah, he's been doing it for years, though. If you don't like him yelling, you may have trouble with it.
I mean that the context of him on the street is fine. Him being like blasted into my ears in the studio voice version of it, I was just kind of like, oh boy, this might grate on me after a while. But like all the like normal dialogue, still his same wit, cadence, all that stuff worked perfect for me. But it's just when he was like, I'm talking into a microphone right now.
Yep.
Like that's what was kind of grating on me. And I probably just woke up the neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it stuck the landing when it comes to the dynamic with him and his love interest, Aaron. I guess I keep saying Billy. I think Bobby is the character name. Obviously, it's Billy Eichner. It's just him.
Yeah.
But anyway, with the love interest, where it doesn't quite want to do the closet thing, but it does do the... I mean, they're kind of representative of what the movie is doing, where it's like, am I going to be steering as hard as possible into... being gay is its own thing. We can't fit in any box. You have to take us or leave us. Or am I going to, quote, assimilate into straight culture more, right? And the struggle that his partner has is very much like, be yourself, but be like just a little bit less of it for mom and dad. Like I thought that, I've never lived this, but I thought that rang true without quite being the same as the like closet narrative that you kind of think is coming.
Yeah.
So I did appreciate that. I will say, as a doc on this movie and every movie Judd Apatow has had his hand in since probably 40-Year-Old Virgin, the celebrity cameos. There's too many of them. There's too many celebrities. It is such a crutch for the Apatow formula. Like Deborah Messing is the most obvious one. She appears a bunch of times. Kristen Chenoweth is in this.
I feel like her appearance actually has weight to it. Like it means something into the context of
one is always good in these movies. There's always one. In this case, she fits. Makes sense. They got their great star. Kristen Chenoweth appears. Amy Schumer is there. Ben Stiller and Kenan Thompson are there. There are many. I could just tell from the theater of people clapping and cheering. Many like gay icons that appear for 2 seconds just to like say a couple words and then walk off screen. There's just something about it where I don't mind it that much, but it feels like dead air, and they could use it to have a tighter script instead of leaning on all the funny people that they got to appear in their movie. I also think something I noticed is this movie, kind of like Billy's persona, so again, maybe this is a meta thing, it veers between being very funny and what feels like trying a little too hard to speak the correct lingo. Like there are a lot of scenes when Billy Eichner's character is in the meeting room brainstorming over the new LGBTQ museum, when characters, it's in the trailer, like remember straight people, or characters talk about how like all identities are valid and don't forget this, don't forget that, don't forget queer women of color, don't forget queer black trans activists, things like that, where it is like, none of that is wrong. Like it should be in the movie, and Billy's character parses it all correctly. But I would say about 20% of the time that dialogue feels shoved in just to tell the audience that we are aware and we know what we're talking about, and we know not to center a white gay man in there was something that felt clunky about the way it tried to acknowledge its own shortcomings. Where I feel like the movie is so hip and self-aware, it didn't need to underline it that much. Like, we all get it already. And like 80% of the time it worked, and 20% I was just like, movie, you're lecturing me. Why are you lecturing me? You don't need to do this. We get the point.
Maybe he was just trying to do the 8 Mile thing.
Yeah, no, he's trying
to
call
attention to everything that I'm doing, just so that way you don't have to bother with it later, because I can go like, yeah, we acknowledge that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that is how it felt. Or it felt like maybe a production note where they're like, underline this more. We want to make absolutely certain that no one can criticize us. Yeah. But it just loses the flow of comedy. A thing that I liked, which I wasn't expecting, is this is basically like a Love It or Leave It alumni movie. Like Guy Branum is like the best friend in this movie, and then Allison Reese shows up to do her one Kamala Harris impression for 2 minutes. And I get that is like a thing these movies do kind of lazily, is just like have someone do their shtick and put it in a movie. My theater loved her like 30 seconds of doing Kamala. So I'm here for it.
I like how you're like, I hate that all these people come in here, but this one subset of the people that just got shoved in the movie was great.
Well, because to me, those aren't celebrity cameos. Those are character actors people don't know doing the thing that they should be known for.
Yeah,
it'd be like if like J. Austin Johnson before SNL had done a Trump impression in one of these movies, and you would be like, oh my God, that guy.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So bring James Adomian on to do Bernie is what I'm saying. He needs a movie.
Yeah. Any last things you want to say about this film, Stephen?
No, I liked it. It was a lot of fun. Formulaic, but sometimes you need it. I liked it a lot more than like King of Staten Island, which I would say is maybe the most formulaic of the formula movies.
Yeah, I think if the trailer didn't quite pull you in, don't let that trailer be the thing that prevents you from seeing it, because I definitely had a good time. Well, let's find out how much of a good time we both had, Stephen. If you're going to give us a must-see, a recommend with a caveat, wait for rental, pass with a caveat, or a must-avoid, what would you give it?
I'm giving it recommend with a caveat. I think this is a solid comedy, great experience watching it, lots of laughs. Not sure the shelf life of this movie is going to be all that long because, again, at its core, there is a kind of very standard formula. And with all of these Apatow-infused productions, you take the good and you take the bad. And, like, you're happy that this character actor got their time in the sun. You're happy the world hopefully recognized their talent and they get to do other roles in the future now that expand it more. The movie itself is not as memorable as the series of jokes in the movie. And I think totally great for if you want to laugh and enjoy yourself, but not necessarily the kind of thing you're going to come back to and remember years from now.
Yep. It's a recommend with a caveat from me as well. I had a great time. Everything you said is true. Like, I am thinking about it now because we're talking about it, but it's also a thing where it's like, it'll be fun to chat with other people who have seen the film, but like outside of that, it's not like you're just kind of like, yeah, that was fun. I had a great time with it. And that was 2 weeks ago now. But I hope that people do give it a chance and go check it out because I think you will have a fun time. But yeah, that's it for our review of Bros. Stephen Miller, people want to find you throughout the week. Where can they do that?
People can find me at twitter.com/sdavidmiller or sdavidmiller.com.
People can find me at ChristopherInRealLife.com or Twitter.com/ChristopherIRL. You can find the podcast over at TheSpoilerWarning.com where you can get a bunch of back episodes of the show. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can do so on Overcast, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or wherever podcasts are found. If you want to know the episodes go live, you can follow us at Twitter.com/SpoilerWarning, Facebook.com/TheSpoilerWarning, or Instagram.com/TheSpoilerWarning. If you want to get a hold of us directly, you can send an email to fans@TheSpoilerWarning.com, or you can use the contact form on our site. Music for this episode will come from a track selected from artlist.io, so hopefully you're enjoying that. Yeah, we're going to take off, and we're going to hop on our $200 million luxury yacht and record...
250, please.
Sorry.
We don't ride in trash.
Our $250 million luxury yacht to record a review of shit. I mean, Triangle of Sadness.